Jubilate Deo omnis terra, alleluia. Salmum dicite nomine eius, alleluia. Date gloria malati eius, alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Dicite Deo quam televidia sunt operator Domine, in multitudine virtutis tue mentientur tibi inimici tui. Gloria Patri, Filii et Spiritui Sancto, sic erat in principio et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Jubilate Deo omnis terra, alleluia. Salmum dicite Domine eius, alleluia. Date gloria malati eius, alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Christe eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Gloria in excelsis Deo, et in terra pax hominibus bone voluntatis. Laudamus Te, benedicimus Te, adoramus Te, glorificamus Te. Gratias agimus tibi propter magnam gloriam Tuam. Domine Deus Rex Celestis, Deus Pater omnipotens. Domine Fili unigenite Iesu Christe, Domine Deus agnus Dei, Filius Patris, qui tollis peccatum mundi, miserere nobis, qui tollis peccatum mundi, suscipe deprecatione nostra. Qui sedes ad excellam Patris, miserere nobis, boniam tu solus sanctus, tu solus Dominus, tu solus Altissimus, Iesu Christe, cum Sancto Spiritu in gloria Dei Patris. Amen. Dominus vobiscum, et cum spiritu. Oremus. Deus qui errantibus ut in viam possint redire justitiae, veritatis Suae luminos tentis, da cunctis qui Christiana professione censentur, et illa despuere que huic inimica sunt nomini, et eraque sunt apta sectari, per Dominum nostrum Iesu Christum Filium Tuum, ut ecum vivit regnat in unitate Spiritus Sancti Deus, per omnia saecula saeculorum. Amen. Lectio Epistolae Beati Petri Apostoli. Carissimi, obsequo vos tamquam advenat, sed peregrinus abstinere vostra carnalibus desideriis, que meditant adversus animam, conversationem vestram intergentis aventes bonam. Ut in eo quod detrectat de vobis tamquam de malefactoribus, ex bonis operibus vos considerantes, glorificent Deum in die visitationis. Subiecti igitur est tote omni humanae creaturae propter Deum, sive regi quasi precedenti, sive ducibus tamquam aveum misis ad vindicta malefactorum, laudum vero bonorum, quia sic est voluntas Dei ut benefacientes obmutescere faciatis in prudentium hominum ignorantiam, quasi liberi et non quasi velamen aventes malitia libertatem, sed sicut servi Dei. Omnes honorate, fraternitatem dirigite, Deum timete, regem honorificate. Servi, subditi est tote in omni timore Dominis, non tantum bonis et modestis, sed etiam discretis. Ec est in gratia, in Christo Iesu Dominum nostrum. Deo gratias. Alleluia, alleluia. Redemptione misit Dominus populus suo, alleluia. O porteva pati Christum et resurgere a mortuis, et ita intrare in gloriam suam. Alleluia. Dominus vobiscum, et cum spiritu tuo. Sequentia Sancti Evangelii secundum Ioannem. Gloria tibi, Domine. In illo tempore dixit Iesus discipulis suis, modicum etiam non videbitis me, et iterum modicum et videbitis me, quia vado ad Patrem. Dixerunt ergo ex discipulis eius ad indigem, quid est hoc quod dicit nobis, modicum et non videbitis me, et iterum modicum et videbitis me, et quia vado ad Patrem. Dicebant ergo, quid est hoc quod dicit modicum, nescimus quid loquitur. Coniogitatem Iesus, quia volebant eum interrogare, et dixit eis, de hoc queritis inter vos, quia dixit, modicum et non videbitis me, et iterum modicum et videbitis me. Amen, amen dico vobis, quia plorabitis et levitis vos mundus autem gaudebit, vos autem contris daviminis et justitia vestra vertetur in gaudium. mulier cum panit tristitiam habet, quia venitor a eius, cum autem peperit puerum, iam non venimit pressure propter gaudium, quia natus est homo in mundo. Et vos ictur nunc quidem tristitiam abetis, iterum autem videvo vos, et gaudevit cor vestrum, et gaudium vestrum nemo tollet a vobis. A warm welcome to all visitors, especially those who call Prince of Peace their spiritual home. I know that we have a few people in the main body of the church today under the maximum that's required by the state, so they are very welcome, and all of you who may be visiting through the miracle of technology. You may have heard that parishes received a detailed list of instructions and procedures for the gradual reopening of our churches in South Carolina. Some parishes have already communicated their specific plan to their people. The bishop has told us that we cannot reopen unless and until all the requirements are met. You may have received an email from me this morning which details, at least right now, what our plan for reopening here at Prince of Peace looks like. But please remember that these plans are subject to change, so please stay connected with us. We may also need some volunteer elbow grease to meet all these requirements, so be on the lookout as well for ways that you can pitch in so that we can restore public worship here at Prince of Peace. If you are not subscribed to our email communications, and if you would like to know all the ways that you can live your faith this week, please go to princeofpeacetailors.net and click on Join Our Virtual Communities for all you need to know. I want to thank you for your continued support of your parish during this time. Very soon, a financial report will be part of the bulletin each month, which will report the month's actual versus budget for the past month and year to date to give a more accurate sense of where we are financially. Many of you have responded beautifully during this time, and we are most grateful. Please don't stop now because we still have so much to accomplish here at Prince of Peace. You are welcome to drop off your offertory in the mailbox of the parish between Croghan Hall and the school. Mail it in, or path of least resistance, click in the upper right-hand corner of our website the Donate button, which will take you to our Tidely page for a one-time or recurring donation to the weekly offertory, capital expenditures, choral scholars, communications, vessels investments, and the Triune Mercy Center program to feed the poor. This past week, I sent out a call for volunteers to help us continue to feed the poor at the Triune Mercy Center downtown, and I was inundated with offers of assistance. I'm very proud at how our parish has stepped up to the plate to simplify and unify at this time. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. Today we continue our three-part Paschal examination of conscience, inspired by St. Francis de Sales's Introduction to the Devout Life. Last week, we examined our soul with regard to God. This week, it is with regard to ourselves. And this is where I think there is the greatest danger. I mean, with God, you can fool yourself all you want in regards to your relationship with your Creator, but you can't ever pull the wool over His eyes. And I think deep down inside, most of us know that. But when it comes to ourselves, we have an incredible ability for self-deception. When others rightly call us out for things, it's easy for us to dismiss it because we want to dissect the messenger, regardless of the message. And then there's a whole host of things deep in our souls that others may not be privy to. And it is especially there that we pretend things are not what they are. Denial can very easily be our daily bread. That is why a rigorous examination of conscience, according to objective standards of behavior, is so needful. The Ten Commandments, the spiritual and corporal works of mercy, the Beatitudes, the virtues, and the vices, they're all important ways for us to say, the Lord wants me to be and do X, and I have chosen to do Y. And then we need to figure out why we continue to do Y when we know X is what we should be doing. We have to make firm purposes of amendment and take practical steps to overcome vice and build virtue. But even before all of that, if we know how easy it is to fall into self-deception, there's something else that's very important. We need to pray to the Holy Spirit, to enter into our minds and hearts, to convict our intellect and will of what we can't see or don't want to see. Why is this so important? Well, there can be something staring us in the face, like Jesus before the disciples on the road to Emmaus, and we can totally miss it, not see it, or just not understand it. Sin darkens the intellect and weakens the will. And spiritual immaturity stunts our growth, so we don't get all we need in order to grow. We can't do it on our own. No matter how educated we may think we are about moral theology, the spiritual life, or even common sense. I want to give you an example to flesh this out. I struggled for many years in my life with several people close to me as friends and associates to understand why I was in conflict with them. There were two important things that I discovered only through study. One, the whole idea of temperaments and personalities. Namely, that sometimes people respond to a given situation in a certain way because of certain trends in their personality. And when you realize why they are the way they are and how to cope with that difference, it can actually be really liberating. The other thing was discovering the characteristics of behavior that are common to people who have a variety of personality disorders and mental illness, all in varying degrees and forms. Learning what those were and ways to cope with their behavior and when to distance myself from some people or situations brought me a lot of clarity and peace. Now, I'm not perfect in any of those things yet. I don't think anyone is. But there were lots of things staring me right in the face that I didn't understand about them, about myself. I began to see how my own personality shaped how I behaved and reacted to other human beings, and could figure out better how to respond to some people in certain situations. That's why, as important as it is to study our faith, it is also important to study the humanities, the liberal arts, the social sciences. The more we know, and the more we know what we don't know about ourselves, the world around us, and others, the less likely we are to engage in destructive behaviors. The proud man who thinks he has it all figured out and is impervious to the authentic dialogue and being challenged by others is going to fail to live up to his God-given potential. He's going to hurt himself and others in the process. For the Christian to ignore this difficult spiritual practice of examining our soul with relation to others, and to ourselves rather, and going deeply into it without being a neurotic navel-gazer, that can be deadly. How many people could be saved? How many people's mental health, relationships, workplaces, and societies could be significantly improved by a disciplined approach to holding oneself accountable for examining our actions, our motivations, and the outcome of what comes forth from them. If we are to be truly devout, it is essential that we place ourselves in the presence of the Lord and beg Him to reveal to us the truth about ourselves, even if it hurts, because it is through that cross that we can learn to live and love and be free. There's also something about being rigorous with ourselves and indulgent towards others. We have become so thin-skinned that even the tiniest slight, someone ignoring us for a split second, or the fact that someone doesn't agree with us about a totally inconsequential thing, sends us into a tailspin of anger, revenge, and self-loathing. And so we live that out by being a busybody, telling everybody why they're wrong and we're right. And we puff ourselves up by self-righteousness and pride. And then we wonder why we're so miserable. We're not created by God to be that way. And so when we ask the Spirit to help and struggle with who we are and why we do what we do, we can be free enough to escape this vicious cycle. To help us out of the rat race, let's listen to the Bishop of Geneva's timely questions that I ask you to ask yourself once a day for each of these days until next Sunday. And I asked you to do that last week as well, and I can't tell you how different my answers to the questions were on Saturday than they were on Monday. It really is very illuminating. Number one, how do you love yourself? Do you love yourself much for the sake of this world? If so, you will desire to remain here always, and will be very concerned to make yourself secure on this earth. But if you love yourself for the sake of heaven, you will desire, or at least be willing to leave this world whenever it is pleasing to the Lord. Number two, do you keep a right order in the love of yourself? It is only inordinate love of ourselves which ruins us. A well-ordered love of ourselves demands that we should love the soul more than the body, that we should be more diligent to acquire virtues than anything else, that we should set a greater value on heavenly honor than on that which is low and passing. The well-ordered person says more often to himself, what would the angels say if I think of such a thing? Rather than, what will men say? Number three, what love have you for your own heart? What trouble do you take to care for it in its illness? You owe it this care in order to help it and to obtain help for it when it is tormented by passions, and to lay all else aside for that. Number four, how much do you value yourself before God? Nothing, no doubt. There's not much humanity in a fly esteeming itself nothing compared to a mountain, nor in a drop of water esteeming itself nothing compared to the sea, nor in a spark of fire esteeming itself nothing compared to the sun. But humility lies in not esteeming ourselves better than others, and in not wanting to be overestimated by others. What is your stand in this respect? Number five, as to the tongue, do you boast yourself in one way or another? Do you flatter yourself in speaking of yourself? And finally, number six, as to works, do you indulge in any pleasure harmful to your health? I mean, vain and useless pleasures, too many late nights without any good reason, and so on. Credo in unum Deum, Patrem omnipotentem, factorem celi et terrae, visibilium omnium et invisibilium, et in unum Dominum Iesum Christum, Filium Dei unigenitum, et ex Patre natum ante omnia saecula, Deum de Deum, lumen de lumine, Deum verum de Deo verum, genitum non factum consubstantialem Patri, perquem omnia facta sunt, qui propter nos homine, sed propter nostram salutem, descendit de celis, et incarnatus est de Spiritu Sancto ex Maria Virgine, et homo factus est. Crucifixus etiam pro nobis, sub Pontio Pilato passus et sepultus est, et resurrexit tertia die secundum Scripturas, et ascendit in caelum, sed ad exlam Patris, et iterum venturus est cum gloria iudicare vivos et mortuos, cuius rei non erit finis, et in Spiritum Sanctum Dominum et vivificantem, qui ex Patre Filioque procedit, qui cum Patre et Filio simul adoratur et cum glorificatur, qui locutus est per prophetas, et unam sanctam catholicam et apostolicam ecclesiam, confiteor unum baptisma in remissionem peccatorum, et expecto resurrectionem mortuorum, et vitam venturi seculi. Amen. Dominus vobiscum, et cum spiritu. Oremus. Lava anima mea Dominum, lava Dominum vita mea, salem Deo meo, quam diu eum. Alleluia. Orate fratres. Per omnia saecula saeculorum. Amen. Dominus vobiscum, et cum spiritu tuo. Sursum corda, habemus ad Dominum, gratias agamus Domino Deo nostro, dignum et justum est. Vede dignum et justum est, ecum et salutare, te quidem Domini omni tempore, sed in hoc votissimum gloriosius predicare, cum Pascha nostrum immolatus est Christus. Ipse in velus est agnus qui absolut peccatum mundi, qui mortem nostra moriendo destruxit, et vitam resurgendo reparavit. Et ideo cum angelis et archangelis, cum tronis et dominationibus, cumque omni militia celestis exercitus, in gloriae Tuae canimus sine fine dicentes. Sanctus, 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 Dominus Deus Sabaoth, plenius in celi aeterna gloria Tua, Hosanna in excelsis, benedictus qui venit in nomine Domini, Hosanna in excelsis. nobis peccatoribus. Per omnia saecula saeculorum. Amen. Oremus, preceptis salutaribus moliti, et divina institutione formati, audemus dicere. Pater noster, qui es in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, et dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut et nos dimittimus debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a male. Per omnia saecula saeculorum. Amen. Pax Domini sit semper vobiscum, et cum spiritu tuo. Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccatum mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccatum mundi, miserere nobis. Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccatum mundi, dona nobis pacem. Domine nos in Domine nos in Domine nos in modicum et non videbitis me, alleluia. Iterum modicum et videbitis me, quia valorat Patrem, alleluia, alleluia. Dominus vobiscum, et cum spiritu. Oremus. Sacramento quae sumpsimus et quae sumus Domine, et spiritualibus nos instaurent alimentis, et corporalibus tuae anteraxinis, per Dominum nostrum Iesu Christum Filium Tuum, qui tecum vivit et regnat in unitate Spiritus Sancti Deus, per omnia saecula saeculorum. Amen. Dominus vobiscum, et cum spiritu tuo. Ite missa est, Deo gratias. Benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sanctus. Amen. Dominus vobiscum, et cum spiritu tuo. Initium Sancti Evangelii secundum Ioannem, gloria Dei. Et verbum car autem est. Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, quia quem meruisti portare, alleluia. Resurrexit, sicut dixit, alleluia.